Good morning, and I'm forecaster John Bordash with you right now to give you your morning update on what we're looking at with Winter Storm Andrew. Now, we have three parts to Andrew that we're going to all talk about right now, and then I'll show you the snowfall forecast, and then the possibility for snow and maybe some ice as we head into early next week, and even the brutal cold that's on tap. Now, we'll start off with discussing the different parts we have to Andrew. So, we have the initial low pressure system over the Pacific Northwest, and that's going to work its way into the northern plains from Omaha on over to near Chicago. That's going to set up an area of snow in the northern plains. And like we said yesterday, and this has pretty much been the part of the forecast that we were pretty certain on, this is all primarily going to be snow. Now, as we head past really today, as we head on over into tomorrow, that's when the uncertainty comes into the forecast. It's pretty obvious that this is going to be draping a low pressure system, or it already has, because we've already been looking at bone-chilling temperatures on up into the northern plains. What we're then going to look to happen is this is going to move east. Now, the question is, one, how fast will the cold air move behind it? And two, how strong will the cold air be? Right now, it looks like the cold air should be clearing the I-95 cities, so from Boston down to New York, down to DC, then down to Raleigh and Atlanta by around Friday or Saturday. Now, if that takes a little bit longer and we don't see the high pressure system set up that we need to, we're not going to be as cold. And we may be looking at the cold to come a little bit later, maybe into Monday, behind this cold front, at least the Arctic air that we're looking at over portions of the country right now. Then, this cold front looks like it's going to develop into a stationary front. Then we'll get a low pressure system to maybe develop on that, and depending on how strong that low pressure is, how much moisture it brings in from the Gulf of Mexico, and its exact storm track, that's all going to determine what we're going to be looking at in terms of impact. So we have three uncertain parts to this area of the forecast. One, where does it develop? Two, how strong is it? We already know pretty much it's going to develop in the southeast. So, how strong is it? How much moisture will it bring in? And the storm track. Right now, it looks like it may bring that wintry mix, rain or snow. So anywhere you see shaded in pink has the potential to see snow, an icy mix, or rain. Alright, so this is the area we're looking at for potential winter precipitation. And in some cases, we may be looking at heavy snowfall. So it really does depend on what the models do with this and where this thing does decide to eventually end up tracking. So here's the snowfall forecast through Thursday morning with Andrew. It looks like Minneapolis, pretty much your event's over, and by Thursday morning, this is how much snow you can expect. I'm thinking maybe right around 3 to 6 inches, 12 to 18 as you head up into portions of northern Minnesota as you're looking at lake enhanced snowfall. Denver, maybe right around 1 to 3, maybe 4 to 5 inches of snow by Thursday, and down through Kansas, just a quick coating to a trace, maybe even a slushy inch in western portions of the state. Now, before I get too further, I need to explain to you how different precipitation falls. So, what we look at with precip, when we have the column of air from the ground on up through the clouds is completely below the freezing point, that's when you get snow, or maybe you get one tiny portion that's above the freezing point, but it's not that big of a deal. It doesn't give the precip enough time to melt from snow to rain, then back to snow. Now, that's pretty certain, so we know that when it falls as a snowflake all the way through, or originates as a raindrop and then it goes down into a snowflake, because you have a really small layer of the atmosphere that is above freezing right near the clouds. Now, when you get that area of warm air to expand in the atmosphere, but you're still looking at cold temperatures from the mid-atmosphere down, that's when we look at sleet, because it falls as a raindrop. And then, when it gets into the colder weather, some of it develops into a snowflake. Some of it, though, develops into an ice pellet, and those ice pellets are called sleet. Now, it's almost like hail, but not the exact same thing. Then, as we head on over into freezing rain, this is the dangerous type of precip. Not that the other two aren't dangerous, but this one's more uncertain, because you have a bigger column of warm air with freezing temperatures right at the surface. So it falls as a raindrop all the way down, but then freezes on contact at the surface because everything's below freezing. So These are the different precip types that we're looking at to maybe play into the forecast as we head into late this week and early next week. Now we'll take a look at all the models and everything. So first we'll take a look at the snowfall forecast, more in depth, so we'll zoom on in here into Minneapolis. Again, you have the potential to maybe pick up 4 inches. I'm not thinking anything all that major up here into the areas we were originally looking at for the lake effect or like enhanced snow. Maybe not as high in terms of snow totals anymore, but still you're going to be looking at over a foot, maybe close to 2 feet. Anywhere from 13 to maybe 17, 18 inches is possible. Over here in South Dakota by Thursday morning, this area in purple, over a foot of snow. And now let's go down into the Denver metro. And it looks like right in Denver, you'll be looking at that 1 to 3 zone. But then in the immediate foothills, you'll be looking at 3 to 6, maybe even 12 inches. Again, the purples, that's in the purple shading, that's where you'll get into a foot. And then in this pink shading, that's 18 to 24 inches. Then this whitish kind of shade, that's over 2 feet of snow. So I think the mountains of Colorado may be picking up over 2 feet of snow. Out here in Salt Lake City or near it, I think the city itself, you're not going to be looking at all that much snowfall, maybe 1 to 3 inches. But then the foothills, that's when you get into a really tight gradient between 1 inch, 1 to 3, and then 24 inches plus, right? So you see this tight gradient right here. That's what we're going to be looking to set up. You may be looking at some lake enhanced snowfall for the Great Salt Lake. But then you also see we start to introduce some snow in Texas and Oklahoma and Arkansas. Now in this zone they have a winter storm watch. So this zone right up through here, so from Evansville down through Paducah on down toward Poplar Bluff, you have a winter storm watch. We also have another one from Fayetteville down to Tulsa, Oklahoma City, and now also Dallas and Wichita Falls. These areas also have a winter storm watch for heavy ice and or snow accumulation. We're starting to look at winter storm warnings coming out in northern portions of Arkansas. So now I'll show you some of our models. So we want to go to our model manager, right? So we'll take this off. Let's look at the current radar situation this morning. This morning on up north as the radar loads, you see we are looking at some snow coming through. This is a part of the main storm system, Minneapolis. You're looking at some snow. Now the blues and whites, those are the snowflakes. This purple right here, purple. Yeah, the purple you see right there, that's freezing rain. And I don't think I can find any. Oh, when you see this pink, that is sleet, and then when you see the greens and the reds and the oranges, that's all the rain. We're even looking at some wintry precip into portions of New York State with some rain entering into the Virginias and on over to the Delmarva. Now, if we look at the current temperatures right now, so we'll take that off. We'll put on our temperature plots. It's 30 right now in Minneapolis. Bismarck, 7 degrees. In the Rocky Mountains, negative 11. So 11 below zero. As we head up north, negative 22, negative 36. So 36 below zero in Thompson. Then we're looking at 35 below as you head on over to Tadloo Lake. And then we're looking at 29 at Watson Lake. So we are looking at very cold temperatures on up here into Canada that are now starting to spill on over or spill on down into our neck of the woods. I think that we will be looking at a warm up along the east coast for the rest of this week, and then we introduce that rain, snow, and or sleet chance. So now we'll take a look at those models like I've been talking about. So take that off, and we'll take off our snowfall forecast. First we'll look at the NAM model. Alright, this is snowfall depth starting at the point where our forecast ends. Actually, I think what I'll do, instead of showing you that, I'll show you the precip type. So this shows the cold front right through here, making its way through. I think that that's primarily going to be a rain event. Some of you may see some wet snowflakes or maybe some ice pellets, and it's not going to be anything all that major on the backside of this, other than the really, really, really cold air. Almost unseasonable for this time of year. Now, again, as this cold front works its way on through, it may bring some rain or some wintry precip. I think that the NAM model may overdo it down here in Dallas. I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. Now this is for your day. Let's see, today is... This is for your day on Friday, right? So, but I think that's when your wintry precip may choose to start. And then it develops snow on the backside of the system, and then moves through right? And then we look at the really cold air coming behind it. Starting the GFS model off where this model stops. This also shows wintry precip down through Dallas. And then brings in a lot of snow through Oklahoma, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, for some freezing rain over to the DC, Baltimore, Richmond metro areas. And then we are looking at a lot of snow. So if we take a look at our snow depth from the GFS model, this shows a zone of over a foot of snow here through Fayetteville, on over through southern Missouri, even a little tiny spot of over 18 inches of snow. And continuing that heavy snow band from Paducah on up through Cincinnati, even bringing some snow here into the DC area with 1 to 3, with 3 to 6 back towards the west, and 6 to 12 as we head on over through the mountains. So this is a lot to look at. It's an ever-changing forecast, so we'll continue to keep you updated. I'll give you another full forecast on Winter Storm Andrew tomorrow morning. Tonight, we're going to start to look at more winter storm watches and warnings pour out. So again, we have a lot to look at over the next few days. In addition, some of the models are pointing at a very, very cold east. The GFS model Wednesday morning for next week has a low temperature in DC at 6 degrees. So we have a lot to look at as we head into the next week. The next few weeks of weather are definitely going to be interesting as we look at a negative NAO pattern begin to set up, which just built in some cold air. Because for the past few days, we've been looking at the AO and the NAO to be in a neutral state. It's been the EPO, though, to be negative, and all that means is colder in the east, and it's going to go negative once again, and we're going to be looking at colder air to set up. I'm forecaster John Bordash, and I'll give you another forecast update this afternoon.